Tactical RPGs have quickly become one of my favorite genre of video games. They all have some pretty interesting stories, a lovable cast of characters, and a fun chess-like battle system. But I've noticed that this genre tends to be pretty niche, and I can't help but wonder why. Could it be because another trend of this genre is to have these super long, drawn-out battles that can take anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour? Or because these games tend to throw a ton of characters at you, most of which might only be useful for like one battle, and then they get benched for the next set of chess pieces that the game hands you, who then get benched for the next set of chess pieces that the game hands you. The Fire Emblem Engage. If those 2 points aren't enough to scare potential players away from the genre, I think the $60 price tag for these one-and-done games can be hard to justify for most people, especially when they could get hundreds of hours of playtime from games like Splatoon, Monster Hunter, or even Pokemon. So as you can imagine, I was really excited to learn about this new tactical RPG game that addresses these problems, and has also decided to sponsor this entire video? That game is called Sword of Convallaria, which you can play on PC or mobile and can download right now using the link in the description or pinned comment down below. But what is Sword of Convallaria? On paper, it is a free-to-play gacha game inspired by the beloved Japanese turn-based and pixel art genre, but in practice, Sword of Convallaria lets you completely ignore the gacha side if that's not your cup of tea, and offers a new unique take on the tactical RPG genre, while still maintaining that classic look and feel. They even got Hitoshi Sakimoto to compose the soundtrack, and he's like the Tactics RPG composition guy, having written music for other classic titles like Tactics Ogre and Final Fantasy Tactics. So let's take a look at this game and what it has to offer. The battle system. Being a tactical RPG, Sword of Convallaria throws you into these grid-like areas for all of its battles. However, a lot of the early game maps are fairly small, allowing you to quickly learn a new mechanic and then progress through its story. Most of the battles took me around 5 minutes to complete, which is a lot faster than most other tactical RPGs I've played. But to be honest, I really enjoyed not having to spend 1 hour just to do one battle. This also allowed the game to give you a bit of a break between story elements, so you aren't just sitting there having to read through 50 pages of paragraph exposition before getting to do another battle for an hour. Apart from its brevity, the combat system adds several new features that haven't seen explored much in the genre so far. For starters, each round allows every character on the map to move once, and the order of that movement is determined by character speed. This is nice because fast enemy units won't just get to dogpile on your team by getting to attack you multiple times per round. And also, if you make a mistake, you don't have to rewind through like 20 other characters' actions just to move one guy one block to the right. That being said, different units have different skills and passives, so some of their attacks might hit multiple times per turn, or they might get to run around a bit after attacking, but most units just get one move per cycle. The game also integrates its environment setting into the battle system really well. You can roll boulders downhill to squish hordes of enemies coming up your way, you can blow up barrels for some nice AoE damage, and on some maps you can just shove your enemies right off the ledge, instantly knocking them out. You can also use the shove mechanic to push and blow up a barrel into a fence or some enemies, but only a few characters can use those kind of moves, and trust me, you're gonna want to have a variety of characters. You're just not gonna be shoving everyone everywhere the whole time. I mean, you can if you wanted to, but not advisable. You can also use the terrain to your advantage, like if you have the high ground Anakin, you get a small damage bonus. Some maps also have high ledges or gaps that most units can't easily cross, but more agile ones like assassins can easily scale up or hop over. All these different environmental factors can be taken advantage of if you bring the right unit type, and by giving players a wide variety of battle environments, the game encourages you to use a wide variety of characters. There's even more things that make this game unique, like status conditions based on unit health. You can be injured or dying, which lowers how much damage they can do. This adds an extra layer of complexity since throwing a solo attacker into a sea of enemies can really hurt their damage output. It also encourages you to bring a healer to the battle for more than just keeping your units alive. The healing will allow your damage dealers to keep hitting hard throughout the battle. Also, the game mechanics are set up in such a way that you're encouraged to bring different types of units. If you can just shove explosive barrels or boulders at the enemies, you might not need a healer for that round, but if it's a more barren map, you definitely want to bring one. Also, it's worth mentioning that there is no permadeath in this game, so sacrificing a few guys to blow up a barrel isn't that bad of a trade-off. Objection! The only place where you might want to save your units from dying in battle is in the game's single-player story mode, the Spyro of Destinies. You unlock this mode right after completing the tutorial section of the game. Apart from the typical story battle format in the tutorial section and other tactical RPGs, the Spyro of Destiny introduces you to the town of Convallaria, where you'll be helping manage relations with other nations and prepare your units for combat. In this mode, you can bring up to 3 of your gacha units, and all the other characters are given to you by the game, with the ability to unlock some more of them by hiring them from the tavern or through random recruitment events throughout the story. Between each combat quest, you have the opportunity to walk around the town of Convallaria, converse with its residents, and prepare your units for battle. There's a really nice UI feature in this game where you can just click the button in the lower right corner, and the game will take you straight to the next activity you can do. Sometimes it's an important conversation, other time it's a unit building activity. My personal favorite is the training grounds, where you can pick a wide variety of options to help strengthen your units. Again, my personal favorite is just to teach the unit a new skill at the end of the week, which tend to be pretty useful and can take a unit from being mediocre to top tier in just one session. There's also a church where you can acquire some temporary buffs for a few of your teammates, a blacksmith to craft some weapons and armor which you can equip, and a research workshop for tactical buffs. Also, you can dispatch several units at a time for extra cash, so that you can afford all these training sessions and buffs. As you go through this loop, you'll quickly realize that the game is set up in a way where you end up using most of your units one way or another. Just keep in mind that assigning a unit to one activity usually means they won't be available for the battle. There's also a stamina system, and if a unit falls in battle, they'll lose a lot more stamina. So even though it isn't a permadeath, they might get the red card and miss out on the next week of activities. If they are out of stamina, you just have to let them rest, and in some cases that means you might not want to spam your best units in every single battle, especially since there's only so many beds for resting each week. This is really important because you'll want to have enough units available for each different class to handle the enemies along the way, especially when it comes to the major story battles. Just like other tactical RPGs, Sword of Convallaria has a weapons triangle, although it's more of a unit class triangle in this one, and it is very nicely on display throughout the game just in case you forget. Picking the right units can make or break a run, so you have to carefully manage who you send when and where, because you don't want to accidentally have all of your assault units occupied with other tasks while the enemy squad is full of defenders. Totally not speaking from experience or anything on that one. Also, if for some reason you prefer the management aspect of the game over the tactical battles, you can just hit the auto battle button and let the units do their thing. I ended up using this feature several times for the weekly battles since I wanted to save up my energy for the major ones, but still wanted to snag the extra resources and experience from the weekly quests. Of course, the battles aren't the only thing that you can just auto or skip. If you aren't a fan of reading or story, there's a very convenient skip text button. If you aren't too much into the whole character management thing, you don't have to do the weekly activities. You can just ignore them all or skip to the next week. Not sure why you do that, since the game makes it very nice and easy to do them. Just click the little button in the corner and it'll take you right to the next place you need to go, and they'll only ever show up if the action is available. So a lot of the times the game will not take you to the church because you cannot activate a buff that week. But again, if for some reason you really don't like this whole character management thing, it is technically skippable. Just expect the major battles to be a bit harder since you won't have any armor or extra skills for your units to help carry you to victory. Now, that's not to say that the game is easy in general. Sure, the tutorial can feel a bit handholdy at times, but it only does that to introduce mechanics that aren't all that common to other tactical RPGs. Regular battles can get quite tricky, and I've lost more than one in the Spyro of Destinies, especially the battles that require you to keep a specific unit alive. Those enemy NPCs, they don't mess around. Thankfully, the game does give you a couple of rewinds so that you can fix the mistakes you've made, and if you do end up losing, you get the option for a little buff in the rematch. But only if you want to. Man, I love it when games give you so much freedom in what you can do. From the looks of it, each cycle of the Spyro of Destinies takes you through 8 to 10 weeks of management in progress, and each story has several cycles. So I can see how you can spend over 100 hours just playing the single player mode. You can also replay this mode multiple times to unlock different endings and routes, as well as to collect the currency, which can give you some permanent buffs in the Spyro of Destinies. It's basically like permanent upgrades you can buy in roguelike modes and other RPGs, making each consecutive run just a little bit easier. Of course, I do have to mention that to unlock a new chapter or start a run fresh, you have to use one of these keys. You get a few of them from the tutorial, plus 2 every week from the game's shop for free, and 8 more from the monthly login bonuses. And if for some reason you manage to run out, you can buy even more with the game's gacha currency. Looks like 1 key costs less than 1 pull, so if you're only here for the single player, you have more than enough keys to enjoy it at your own pace. The only situation where you might find yourself out of keys is if you're trying to speedrun through everything by auto battling, skipping text, and playing through through this game from dawn to dusk. It's a good game, but still, take some breaks, man. That being said, the Spyro of Destiny is only one part of Sword of Convallaria, the single player part. There's also this whole other half of the game, the gacha part, the Fool's Journey. This is the gacha side of the game where you can access some more stories but have to use some time-limited stamina to unlock each battle and get to collect some nice rewards for completing it. You can also re-challenge boss battles in hard mode for free for even more rewards. Technically, you can redo any of the battles you've already completed without having to use stamina for them again, so you can just go back and collect extra stars if you missed them the first time around. Unlike the Spyro of Destinies where you build characters from the weekly management system, here you build your characters just like in any other gacha game. You can level them up by participating in battles or using some common EXP. Every time your level reaches a multiple of 5, so 5, 10, 15, so on, you can also rank up your character by using some medals. Of course, you can collect all of these resources by using up some more of your stamina and partake in special battles, but worry not, since the stamina does recharge fairly quickly, just like in other gacha games. Also, at each odd number rank, the game makes you pick one of 2 skills to unlock from a character's skill tree. This is a pretty unique game mechanic since you only get 1 copy of each character and can't reset this tree, so the way your characters are built might end up being very different than the way my characters are built, and it all depends on which skills you choose to unlock as you level up your tree. Technically, you can unlock both skills, but the materials for doing so is not easy to come by, so you should save those for your personal favorite character. Speaking of characters, this is a gacha game, meaning you can pull for characters and will see several different banners to choose from. As a new player, you will get Mytha for free, and then you get plenty of pulls for the guaranteed intro banner, which will give you a legendary unit within 30 pulls. The developer also let me know that you can get over 50 additional pulls for completing 7-day quests and another 20 in the second week, so you'll have plenty of opportunities to pull for the characters you want. One thing I like about this game's gacha system is that the odds of getting a legendary character at any point is 2%, which is a lot higher than that of the usual 0.5% that most other gacha games use. Another thing I like about Sword of Convallaria is that pulling multiple copies of a unit only helps buff up their passive ability, and I think you can get a new outfit for the legendary characters by maxing out their passives, but unlike other gacha games which significantly change how a character functions if you pull multiple copies of them, this game doesn't add the extra pressure, so you won't feel extreme FOMO if you can't afford to whale on your favorite character. I respect that. If you want to whale for the extra buffs for their passives and the skin, go for it, but if you've pulled Magnus, you've got Magnus. You don't need to pull 2 more Magnuses for Magnus to really Magnus. On paper, it's a gacha game. In practice, it's so much more. I'm all for it. I like this. Now my final thoughts. Before making this video, I got to play through Sword of Convallaria for about 8 to 10 hours, so I'm still pretty early on in the game, but it has definitely left me with a good impression. The game looks, sounds, and feels like a typical tactical RPG, but it introduces a lot of new and unique mechanics. It is also a gacha game, but offers a large single-player mode that can provide a completely free-to-play experience away from the gacha game mechanics for players interested in tactical games. If you don't like gacha, you don't gotta do the gacha. It's great. And there's a lot of other features I didn't get to cover since I'm not far enough to explore them yet, like decorating your home in Elysium, the complex and intricate story about the rare materials found in this region, a challenging tower to ascend, and a PvP mode? I definitely want to try that out with my friends when the game comes out. Speaking of which, if you're watching this video, the game is out now. Sword of Convallaria is available on PC and mobile, and you can download it right now using my link in the description or pinned comment. It's a great way to support the channel, and a great way to get into the tactical RPG genre. But no, seriously, it's a pretty good game with a lot of new and unique mechanics, and I definitely recommend trying it out. Also, if you've made it all the way to the end, leave a comment down below letting me know what you think about this game or tactical RPGs in general. I know I don't talk about them much on the channel, but man am I excited whenever a new one drops. Either way, thank you Sword of Convallaria for sponsoring this video, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!